You ever seen someone so full of themselves? They try to build a monument just to prove they're better than everyone else. That was our neighbor, Karen. One morning, we woke up to the sound of heavy machinery and metal clanging. It was 6:30 a.m., and Karen's front yard looked like a construction site. The crew she hired was welding giant golden panels together, the sunlight bouncing off them so hard it blinded the street. By noon, half her property was surrounded by what looked like a miniature version of the Golden Gate Bridge. People started coming out of their houses, recording on their phones, whispering things like, "What is she doing now? And is that gold?" And yes, it was. Well, gold-plated, as we later found out. Karen had told everyone it was a symbol of neighborhood excellence. By evening, she posted in the HOA group chat, "Dear residents, our neighborhood's image has been elevated thanks to my investment in aesthetic improvement. Since everyone benefits from enhanced curb appeal, I'll be sending out invoices tomorrow to cover shared costs." That's right. She wanted us to pay for her golden fence. The invoice came the next day, $1 and $200 per household. My jaw hit the floor. My wife laughed out loud. Karen even attached a thank you note, claiming we should feel grateful for her contribution to our community's prestige. When we tried to reason with her, she said, "It's not just my property. It's the neighborhood's pride. You should be honored to help maintain it." By that evening, half the neighborhood was in chaos. People were furious, group chats exploded, and one of the dads down the street actually printed her invoice and burned it in his driveway. But Karen wasn't backing down. She started threatening HOA fines, claiming non-payment would be considered disrespect to community improvement. That's when we decided enough was enough. We weren't just going to fight her, we were going to expose her. And that's when things really got wild. If Karen thought she could bully an entire neighborhood into paying for her vanity project, she clearly didn't know who she was dealing with. The morning after her invoices arrived, the HOA chat was pure chaos. One neighbor, Lisa, wrote, "Karen, this is your personal property, not a community landmark." Karen instantly replied, "Correction. It's a symbol of our unity and higher living standards. The least you can do is contribute." That was the final straw. By noon, 20 of us met at the cul-de-sac. We formed what we jokingly called the Golden Resistance. Everyone had their own story. Karen had fined Tom for leaving his trash bins out, yelled at Olivia's kids for chalk drawings, and once called the cops on a neighbor for an unapproved mailbox color. This wasn't about money anymore. This was about control. We agreed, no one was paying a single cent. But Karen wasn't done yet. The next day, she strutted around her shining golden gate in heels and sunglasses, like she was guarding a royal palace. She handed out final notices in gold envelopes. It would have been funny if it weren't so absurd. That evening, she did something none of us expected. She held a neighborhood announcement in her driveway. With her arms wide open, she declared, "I am officially elevating our community's image under my leadership as HOA Cultural Director." No one had ever voted for her. No one even knew that title existed. I stepped forward and said, "Karen, you can't just make up positions and charge us for your personal projects." She glared at me. "You're just jealous you didn't think of it first." That's when the cameras came out. Several of us started recording. Karen's face turned red, but she kept talking, digging her own grave with every word. She said, "If you people don't pay, I'll fine you through the HOA. I have influence. You'll regret this." That night, I couldn't sleep. Something about the way she said influence felt wrong. So I started digging through HOA documents online. What I found changed everything. Turns out, Karen had been illegally signing HOA forms, posing as a board treasurer, a position that had been vacant for months. We didn't just have a Golden Gate scandal. We had a fraud case on our hands, and we were about to take her down, publicly. The next morning, I walked into the HOA office with a folder full of printed documents. My hands were shaking, not from fear but from pure disbelief at what I'd found. Karen had forged 3 board member signatures on HOA maintenance forms. Each fake signature approved community enhancement funds, all directed to her private contractor. She wasn't just trying to make us pay for her Golden Gate. She was already using our HOA fees to fund it. When I showed the papers to the HOA manager, his face went pale. This can't be real," he muttered. I pointed at the signatures. "That one? That's the name of a guy who moved out 2 years ago." It was clear now. Karen had built her Golden Gate using neighborhood money, pretending it was an approved project. That evening, I called a secret meeting with the rest of the neighbors. Everyone showed up. Lisa brought cookies. Tom had a folder of text messages from Karen. And even the older couple who never spoke to anyone came out to listen. I spread the documents across my porch table and said, "She's been lying to all of us. She used HOA money. We can report this." A hush fell over the group. Then someone said what everyone was thinking. Let's take her down. The next morning, we submitted everything to the city council and the county housing department. Karen had no idea. She was still busy posing next to her glittering fence, taking selfies and posting captions like, "Excellence has a price. Not everyone can afford it." 3 days later, she got a letter. Official seal, bold print. Her face twisted when she opened it. She tried to hide it, but we all saw. It was a notice of investigation for HOA fund misuse. That same week, a city inspector showed up. He measured her fence, checked the permits, and frowned. "Did you get approval for this construction?" he asked. Karen smiled proudly and said, "Of course. The community loves it." The inspector turned his clipboard around and said, "That's interesting, because these signatures don't exist in our system." Karen froze. The color drained from her face. For once, she had no words. By evening, she stormed into the HOA chat, typing in all caps. "This is a setup! You all envy my success." But the truth was already out. And the golden gate that was supposed to make her look powerful was now her biggest embarrassment. Still, we weren't done yet. We had one more move left, a public one. The neighborhood gathered that Saturday morning like it was Judgment Day. Everyone stood on their lawns, phones in hand, watching as 2 city trucks pulled up in front of Karen's house. The golden fence glimmered in the sun, but this time it didn't look majestic. It looked ridiculous. Like a monument to arrogance, Karen came storming out in a silk robe, waving papers. "You can't touch my property! This is art!" she screamed. The city inspector calmly replied, "It's illegal construction on HOA property lines, funded with misused community money. It's coming down." Her voice cracked. "No, you can't! I paid for it!" But she hadn't, not a single cent of her own money. The workers began unbolting the panels. One by one, the golden gates of glory came crashing down. The sound echoed through the neighborhood like justice itself. Some neighbors actually cheered. Others just stood silently, watching the woman who had bullied them for years finally face the consequences. Karen paced in circles, shouting about lawsuits and conspiracies. But no one believed her anymore. The HOA manager arrived with police officers to keep the peace. When they handed her an official order to reimburse misused funds, she turned pale. She tried to argue, but the officer said firmly, "Ma'am, please step aside." And that was it. Her reign was over. By sunset, her golden fence was gone, leaving behind muddy holes and broken pride. A week later, the HOA held an emergency election. This time, everyone showed up to vote. For years, no one cared who ran things. But after Karen's stunt, the community wanted real leadership. They nominated me as president. I didn't want power. I just wanted peace. But when I looked around and saw everyone's faces, relieved, hopeful, I said yes. We decided to use the recovered HOA funds to build something simple yet meaningful. A small community park open to all. No gold, no glory, just unity. Months later, the sound of kids playing in that park became our new neighborhood anthem. As for Karen, she sold her house quietly and moved away. No one knows where she went, and honestly, no one really cares. But sometimes, when the sun hits the new playground slides just right, a glint of gold appears, and we all remember the time one woman tried to turn our neighborhood into her kingdom, only to learn that no gate, no matter how golden, can fence in the truth. If you loved seeing Karen get exposed, make sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another crazy HOA story. And comment below. What would you do if Karen tried this in your neighborhood? We want to hear your thoughts!